Hell, good morning, YouTube viewers. Derek Tant here. This is my house, and this is my huge estate. That's not my house. All right, this is my house. I have 1.75 acres in small town, West Texas. Now, you might be thinking, what are you doing, Derek? Why am I making a video on this? Well, this video is more for my purposes. It's kind of this is like a before shot of some yard work that's about to get done. Try to avoid the sun here. Little background. I used to have a fence line that went from that corner that way on the north side to the east side. So basically about 800 feet of fencing that was rotted and old, and I removed it. You can still see some remains. Look at these. Look at those posts. Big old posts. A lot of the debris, the rocks, a lot of the wires and these just the remains. Look, there's these holes that remain. There's like a little thing in there. Anyway, there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done. Yeah, stop. Dead end. A lot of cleanup that needs to be done. So I've hired my son, who just turned 13. We negotiated a little fee, and I'm going to have him do the work. And so I'm kind of showing what needs to be done beforehand. For my purposes, it's kind of like a before picture. Something like this. See this tree here? This is a mesquite tree. Needs to be dug up. Needs to come up. You can see a lot of this trash. These old fence posts, all these old building materials, they're collected into the curb. And that was my fault. I put it out there, but it needs to come up. Basically what I'm doing is I want this whole yard to be ready to receive a riding lawnmower without having a lot of obstacles. Like this stuff. These are cactus. These are the weeds of West Texas. They're everywhere. Now, you may or may not have ever seen stuff like that, but they're everywhere, and they need to come up. Way back there, there's plenty of them. Okay, here we are. We're now on the east side of the property, and I've got plenty of cactus and these mesquite trees, all kinds of trash that John's going to need to pick up. Look at this fencing material. Ugh. This is going to be the toughie. That is a big old mesquite tree. He's going to have to get the loppers, lop each one of the little limbs, and then start digging to pull that thing up. Now, the root goes pretty deep, so I know he's not going to be able to get the whole thing, but I just want him to get it's about a foot deep and cut that thing off. Here's an old gate, part of the old fence line. I thought it was pretty neat, so I'm keeping it. Hey, there's my house. You might recognize those French doors. I make a lot of videos on the inside and the outside of those doors. Prickly pear cactus. Again, it's a weed. Well, not really a weed, but we got so many of them around here. They need to come up. Look at all this trash. All this stuff along the curb. It's terrible. These cactuses, they're just getting in the way. I want to be able to run the riding lawnmower along. Now, my brother-in-law, the man who married my wife's sister, he just moved around the corner, and his father had given him a riding lawnmower a long time ago. Well, he can't use it now because his yard's too small. Well, he wants to know. He was like, "Hey, Derek, could you use it?" And I'm like, yeah, I definitely can. So here we are. We're coming up on the southern fence line. Now, interestingly enough, the southern fence line, this is the border to the city. All right. On this side, my side, that's the city, county. City, county. And there's nobody, there's like nothing out there. It's just a bunch of trees, bushes, cactuses, and stuff. I got a neighbor that lives maybe a half a mile that way. But the southern edge of my property is unoccupado. But look at this. There's a bunch of trees and bushes that reach over the fence line into my property. And I need that stuff trimmed. I need it clipped. When heavy winds and rain and lightning and stuff come along, anybody needs some fence, old fence wire fencing, you can have it. I told John he doesn't have to mess with this. Look at all that cactus. Yeah, this has exploded in the last few years. It's just huge. I told him he doesn't have to mess with it, but all these trees and bushes, they're reaching in over on my side. They're impeding, lawn mowing and everything. So, especially this is dangerous. High winds kick up, it could snap that off. And it's done it before. I mean, ooh, look at that. That could have been wind, that could have been lightning. But I don't like it. So, and I know that lightning struck one of these trees down there. There's my little workshop. There's my little red shed that had the roof blown off it a few weeks ago because of the wind. So it's not just the trees that can get dangerous. I mean, look at this. This tree begins on the other side of the fence, but look at how much it's reaching over. That is my height. Stop it. Let me get rid of you. Now this tree starts on my property, but I want John to trim this side of it. Yeah, he could do that. Oh. It's a good walk. If you walk the fence line, it's a good quarter mile. Well, 1,200 feet. So less than a quarter mile. This is an old foundation of a building that used to be here. And I mentioned the fence line that I had torn down. I dragged it all over here. I stacked them up in about 6 separate piles. And they were each about 3 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet tall. I gave them away. People want that stuff. Even though I said, hey, this fencing is rotting, it's no good, it's free, so people took it. So I got rid of like 95% of it. Here we are in the southwest corner of my property. And there's bricks and there's rocks, debris. I mean, there's all kinds of, it's high grass and I can't even, I need it cleaned out. So this is what I negotiated with my son to do. So that's what he's starting today. In fact, he needs to get up and start working on it while it's still kind of cool outside. Look at that. Prickly pear. It's on the other side of the fence, but look, it's coming over. I don't need that. Trim it. There's the shed. There's the roof. Look at all those weeds. I definitely need a riding lawnmower to take care of this. A lot of this before was not covered. There was very little plant life, but we've had a lot of rains recently. So I really can't just push mower this whole thing. All right, so this is my neighbor's house, Miss Krause's house. Her property begins about right here. Like I said, I took out the fence line. And so it kind of goes a little bit, well, yeah, I can't really. The sun's out, so I'm really just going to not point the camera that way. But her property kind of goes about halfway back. And you can see my fence line running, my west side fence line. This is my property. And it goes about right there. So it kind of, I got like a little L shape. So that's Miss Krause's lot. There's my workshop, and that is a storm cellar. Well, I've got beer in there. I don't have any tobacco in there. But that's my garage. This kind of come almost full circle. But anyway, I hope if you watched this that you found it interesting. It was just for my own purposes. I was just showing off what needed to be done for my son. This is kind of like a before picture. Maybe we'll get an after. And then of course here's my living room. The famous leather couch and the palm tree with the monkeys. So maybe that just gives you a little perspective on where I live and how I live. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.